That's a difficult one because ultimately you've got the procedures, so that's pretty strong, pat on the back, well done for having procedures.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes what we're finding when we do the coaching is that the owner is very good at the procedures, but they're not necessarily implementing them correctly. So is there an element, if you feel you're repeating yourself, that the implementation of that particular procedure has been quite clear from the get-go?
Yes. Yeah, and also I think it's about I think it's about how we're explaining the procedure and the relevance behind what they do and how it is part of their job role.
Yeah, and why they're doing what they're doing.
Why they're doing what they're doing, exactly. And I think, because sometimes I think it's, and absolutely rightly, some people just don't listen, and it's infuriating. But if there's certain procedures that need to be followed and someone isn't following them, then maybe you need to implement a tick list. If they've got certain procedures throughout the day that they need to follow, they need to tick it and make sure they leave it for you at the end of the day so that you can check that they've done it. So there's certain things I think that you can put in place to ensure the procedures are done. And of course, you need to make a note of it in the one-to-one, that you've discussed it, that you'll review it on the next meeting the following month. It is a requirement of your job role. I do expect it. Is there a reason why you're struggling to follow that procedure? Is there anything I can do to support you so that that procedure is followed? Well, that's a bit of a yes, no. But what would you suggest we do in order that you can follow that procedure?
I always say, if it's important enough for you, it will be important enough for them. So therefore, if you think of a procedure you've put in place and it was a categoric, it has to be happening. After a while, everyone does what you want them to do. So if it's important for you, you will find a way of reinforcing that procedure.
Yeah.
But I guess with someone who's not listening or not hearing, I like the fact that as an employer, we've got to do everything in order for them to be successful at their role. So perhaps, like you said, they need to a tick list, or perhaps they need to be reminded, and perhaps maybe they have a bit of time with a senior staff member for months, so that procedure is reinforced and we're not letting go of it. But I think sometimes what we're finding is the frustration we're having with a particular staff member who's not following the procedure, and it's always like that. You need to ask yourself, how long can you allow that to happen?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, might have go down the disciplinary route.
Yeah. If it's and also it depends for me. It doesn't just depend on that, because ultimately, if you've put a procedure in place, then it should be done. But is that procedure still relevant, or are you just letting it annoy you when you don't need to? You know, maybe, is there a reason why that member of staff feels that it isn't relevant?
Yeah.
That's not their choice to make, of course.
No, but we need to learn from that.
Yeah, you know, is it because they're thinking, oh, like, honestly, really, does it need to be done? Or is it that they're just blatantly just don't want to follow procedures? And like you said, then you take them down the disciplinary route, of course. But I think that we have to be very clear in how, there's no point in keep saying, right, Valerie, you need to do this month, that needs to be, make sure you do it, and you don't do it. And so, Valerie, you didn't do it last month, so can you make sure you definitely do it? It's a procedure and you didn't do it. And so there's no point. But I think if you set clear guidelines, right, this is the reason why I want this procedure followed. This is the reason why we have the procedure, and this is the reason why you have to do it. Forms part of your job role. I will review it on this date, and if it hasn't been done on this date, then I'm going to need to give you a formal warning, or I'll need to give you a warning based around it.
Yeah, I probably would go through the performance management first rather than go through an actual procedure of disciplinary, because that's really a bit of a pain or whatever, and quite harsh in some respect. But it depends on the level of attitude you've got in front of you.
Exactly.
If it's an attitude where I really don't care, then there's an element of you've got to assess and think maybe you could go directly to the disciplinary route. And also maybe what you've got to also assess as an owner is that attitude that particular staff member has against the procedure, what effect has that got on the other team members? Because the other team members could very much be, well, he or she gets away with it.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it and nothing's happening, there's no consequences. So
Yes,
why are you asking me to do that?
And also, is that person not just doing that procedure because it's just that procedure, or is it because they just think anything you put in place is
not of value?
It's not of value. Is there a more reasoning behind why they're not doing it? Are they disgruntled about something else and they just don't think, So I think it's having that one-on-one conversation, and I get that if you feel like you've had it a few times, then you just have to move on to the next.
I think,
how am I going to deal with this,
Yeah, I think my boss a long time ago, when I was managing very large teams, said to me, look, your role is going to be to repeat yourself.
Yeah.
And this is quite a long time ago. That has not changed necessarily. I think we feel frustrated as an owner, thinking, come on, that's easy. We've put this procedure in place. Everyone does it. But ultimately, I remember my boss saying, the day you realise that you have to repeat yourself again and again and again is the day you will feel better about your role. Yeah. So I suggest you relax into it a little bit more. So again, it depends on what procedure we're talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
The seriousness and the level of seriousness you want around that procedure, and the attitude of the staff member. And that's where leadership is never that cutthroat. This is how it works and that's it.
Yeah.
But if you make a procedure and you don't really follow that through, no one will care about that procedure along the line, isn't it? So many people have downloaded the SOP manual that we do. Yes, it's right to do it, it's right to have it written down, but then you've got to have a strategy around how you're going to introduce it to the team.
Yeah.
Some of the procedures should be signed, bulging from that. Maybe they're on the staff room and they're there so everyone can see that's really serious. We want them to happen.
Yeah.
But it's a juggling act, I guess.
It always is.
Thank you for joining us. We really enjoy sharing our thoughts on various topics. If you have a burning question, simply comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button to keep up to date with each new episode.